This is the Tri-State Time Machine. Each week, your host, Vanessa Hankins, and her guests share memories and stories about the past, the present, and the future of the Tri-State area. That's West Virginia, Kentucky, and the Ohio areas. If you used to live here, or you currently live here, you're going to catch yourself saying out loud, "Wow, I remember that." Now, here's Vanessa.
Hey Tri-State, it's Vanessa, and this is the Tri-State Time Machine. Today, we're joined by Dr. Rebecca Hansen, a professional who has spent nearly 2 decades supporting autistic adults as they transition from college into the real world. She's the founder of Reaching Spectrum Heights right here in Huntington, and she's passionate about helping our community become a better, more inclusive place for neurodivergent employees, graduates, and their families. She's also a women-led small business owner, making a huge impact in very underserved area. Rebecca, thank you for being here.
Thank you so much, Vanessa. I'm honored to be here.
Absolutely. We've been trying to do this for a little bit, and we've never been able to kind of get our schedule together, so I'm excited to have you here.
Thank you.
We'll jump right in since we're busy ladies. You've been in Huntington for 25 years, is that correct?
That's correct.
So what originally brought you here, and what made you decide to call it home?
Sure. It was an unanticipated change. I actually went to college at University of Charlotte for a semester because I was that small hometown girl that couldn't wait to get out of West Virginia.
I get that.
I quickly turned around and found Marshall as a home in the spring of 2000.
Nice.
And so I studied biology for a long time, thinking I was going to med school.
Oh, wow. What a difference. Yes.
So different. Complete career change.
Absolutely.
However, the MCAT and flunking it about 4 times really was an eye-opener to Plan A not working. So after a couple days in bed, I realized maybe I should go to grad school.
I love that.
So that's when I met a guy named Lowell Austin, and he was the first person I ever knew who had autism. I didn't even know it existed.
Okay.
And this is actually in 2004.
All right.
So I was a graduate assistant for a college program at Marshall University. The West Virginia Autism Training Center was piloting a program for high school students that were transitioning to college that had autism.
Okay.
And so my role was really to shadow him and learn more about his life. And how autism affected his college experience.
How cool.
So I've always believed that education can go so far, but experience really teaches you
I agree with that.
more.
I agree, 100%. 100%. So basically, I mean, you landed in this profession just by following your heart.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
I love that. I love that. So how long did you follow him?
Was it primarily the first year?
The first year? So
really
you spent a lot of
pilot.
time.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. And so grad students usually only have 2 years of time to serve in a GA position. And so I was really trying to soak up everything I could in terms of understanding his college experience. From homesickness of being out of state to family changes going on, to living somewhere completely different than his hometown. And so my role was definitely not what I expected it to be. I thought more
absolutely.
Academic, tutoring. And it was more of a mentorship. And even 25 years later, here we are. Well, 20. I guess it's been 20 years that I've met Lowell. We're still in each other's lives.
I was going to ask that. Was going to be a follow-up question
It
is if you
is.
still talk and if
Full
you're still
circle.
friends.
We've come full circle.
I love that. I love that so much. So at what point did the Small Business Development Center and Doug Harper specifically influence your path towards consulting?
Oh, great question. I didn't even know that the Small Business Development Center existed. That really was a vision of our president, Brad Smith, and his wife, Elise, to help people navigate what small business development might look like.
Yeah.
And so a friend of mine through the Junior League of Huntington, actually, Sarah Bostic.
Sarah's wonderful. Shout out to Sarah.
Hello, Sarah. We love you. Mentioned Doug, and so I'm like, okay, I'll just bring my resume and see what he has to say.
Yeah.
And he's this tall, larger than life kind of guy that's run several different businesses.
No pressure.
No pressure for me to show up and be like, hi, here's what I can do. Get a job.
Here's my idea.
And that was a beautiful meeting because he really inspired me to go for it.
Oh, awesome.
He said, you've got a great experience that you can translate into consulting work. And so at the time, we still kept in touch with alumni
Yeah.
people that we'd worked with years and years ago. And so I just started cold calling people saying, where are you at now in your life? Do you need support in helping find a job or find a relationship or learn how to drive?
Yeah.
All those things that you might have put off while you were in school.
Absolutely.
And so fast forward 4 years, we now are serving 35 clients from 8 different states.
Holy moly.
And majority are within West Virginia.
Yeah.
So we have face-to-face services here in Huntington in the
Nice.
tri-state. But our only one full-time staff member, Bianca Hines, has been a huge asset.
She's
to
wonderful.
The growth of our company.
Yes, I remember when you guys presented to the junior league, and
Yep.
she just knocked it out of the park. She was
Yes,
wonderful.
She has a presence. She walks into a room and you can tell she's going to be able to be a resource to you in some
Yes.
capacity. She's person-centered. She's
Very much so.
kind. She wants to know how to make your life better, all while managing her own
Right.
single motherhood. So
Yes. What a
I'm really
wonderful.
proud to have her on.
I was going to say, what a great situation for you to have found her for
Yes.
this business, because
Well,
your heart is in it.
That was another asset
Oh, okay.
of being in Marshall's program, is that we had been together for over 15 years.
Oh, so it just kind of came naturally.
Completely
Like, hey, I'm
came
doing this.
naturally.
You wanna
Hey,
you wanna
are
go
in the
with?
season of change too?
Yeah.
And so thankfully we were able to make it happen.
Gotcha. I love that. So what was the moment that you realized, okay, this is going to be my next chapter. This is what I'm doing.
Sure. It doesn't seem real. We were talking before we started the podcast
Mm-hmm.
about self-employment
Yes.
and how much of a deserted island that can be.
It absolutely can be.
So that was a significant change for me, because I really thrive in teamwork.
Yes.
And bouncing ideas off of people that I admire and people that I value their perspective, that can tell me when I'm wrong.
100%.
And, say, no, we can't do that right now, but let's do this. And so that's lacking. It's better now that we have Bianca.
Yeah.
And we have a young man named Jeremy Virgins.
Yes, he's wonderful as well.
He's been great. He's a natural mentor.
Yes.
To even have a male in the field is
And he's
unique.
a people person. Like he
100%.
very much is.
Yes. And he possesses that charisma that networking demands.
Yes.
So he can model those skills to his clients within the community. So that's kind of been the
Yeah.
benefit of not having an office. So people might not know we're in the Coworks Development Center right
Yeah,
now. And so
right.
this space really lends itself to collaboration.
Yes.
And so I'm excited to be here, first of all.
Yeah.
But just show that folks that don't have that space right now can come here to
Yeah,
create
it's
the network.
available, and you can. Just side note here, since we're talking about it, you can rent the space here for a day. You can rent it for a month. You can rent it for a year. So it's just whatever your needs are. And there is, I was telling Rebecca before the show, there's standalone desks, or there's actual office space that you can rent. So I think it's a really awesome. And plus, this podcast wouldn't be if it wasn't for Cowork. So very excited to be here, but also for people to continue learning about it. What was the biggest challenge starting Reaching Spectrum Heights for you?
Oh, I think going from just being myself to other people.
I get that.
I had built about 10 to 12 clients on my week load.
Yeah.
And that became too much for me, because
Yeah.
I didn't intend to go full time again. But I knew that in order to grow, I needed more people.
Right.
And, the things I always needed in my former time at Marshall were space and people.
Yes.
Obviously, funding is always a resource that
Always.
you need, but the right people and the right space are critical to development.
Absolutely.
Thankfully, most of our services are virtual, and so that's been a benefit. Like our Rent, for example, is a platform called Simple Practice, which is a telehealth
Nice.
compliant
Yeah.
platform where Bianca and Jeremy and myself can meet clients from all over the nation, which is
Yeah.
really great. On their time,
Yes.
when is most suitable for them.
Which in today's world, that is everything. Having that availability.
Yes.
So I'm sure your clients love that.
Yes, well, and it's a nice flexible schedule for us too. If we want to work in the evening or weekend, we can.
Yes.
So anyway, I think the challenge, and just to kind of go back to what made it real, we have a family, the Wiseman family in Lynchburg, Virginia.
Okay.
Or excuse me, Leesburg. And the mom, her name is Nancy, she has been critical to the development of really making it real. So she helped to foster our first retreat. And so it was the first time we had T-shirts.
Yeah.
And the photo of all of our families in T-shirts together made it seem very tangible.
Yes.
And so that was the moment I knew it was bigger than me.
Yeah.
And so and that happened just this year. That's
so exciting. Yeah.
And we're going to be doing that every year.
Well, congratulations. That's a great success story.
Swag can go so far.
It really
can. Your tables and your pens and your keychains, but when you have the people wearing your brand,
yes, something about it makes it real. Yeah.
It's like, wow, this is awesome.
You actually feel it. I get that 100%, and not that it's on the level that Reaching Spectrum Heights is, but when I got my first stickers printed for the podcast, like I was like, oh yay! And I'll give you one of ours too. They're in the drawer over here. But yes, like I love a sticker, and like the fact that someone, and these are so pretty. Look
how funny this is. I even brought a little.
Oh my God, I love this. I love this so much.
And then, of course, you have to have business cards.
Yes, and of course, you have to have your cards. Yes. Thank you for all. I love getting gifts. Right now, yes. Well, I'll post the stuff, the swag, on our Facebook. But I love the sticker. That's a great sticker.
It's actually designed.
Oh, nice.
I'm very passionate about it. Chris Miller is our web designer, and he created this logo. It took us a long time to really figure out what it should be, but I think it represents growth in life.
Absolutely.
So
I love it, and I love that you've got it on your arm. I love that so much.
Why not?
Yes, absolutely. That's something that I love about tattoos. Is like sometimes they get a bad rep, but it's so nice to have one on your arm that you can just pull a sleeve down, or whatever you need to do to make it happen. So to get back to Reaching Spectrum Heights, you've talked about the gap in support for autistic adults after college.
100%.
What does that gap look like in real life for families?
Yeah. Well, I think a lot of people think that once high school's over or even college is over, then there's a big drop-off in support. And
absolutely.
Especially, let's just kind of go back to a 14-year-old, because specifically in West Virginia, if you're 14 and you have autism in West Virginia, you can receive services through your school.
Nice.
However, you're going to need more help than the school can provide. And so there is the West Virginia Department of Rehab Services that supports anyone with a disability that's seeking.
I did not know that.
We're actually one of the community resource programs for them. And so that's one way that we've been blessed to have funding there for those that can't afford private pay. But what they can do is really help in that transition of career exploration, of understanding self-advocacy skills within that high school environment, why we can still capture people before they graduate.
Yes.
Because that's a big gap. A lot of folks are choosing not to go to college. I've been in the schools and doing trainings on what do you want to do next. And specifically, I was in Midland Trail about 3 years ago at the high school there, and I said, hey guys, about 30 people in the room, juniors and seniors, and who wants to go to college, who doesn't? It was half and half.
Oh, yeah.
And we had a friendly debate about one young man wanting to become a welder, and he said, I'm going to make $80,000 next year.
Yeah.
And the other young man saying, well, I'm going to go to college and get my liberal arts degree, and it's going to cost me $120,000 the first year, yada, yada, whatever it might have been.
Yeah.
And so it was a really unique perspective of the shift in vocational.
Right,
tracks.
absolutely. And I think in Appalachia, we are really making that shift to the technical schools and things like that. And I think that's wonderful, especially for people on the autism spectrum, because a lot of times, and correct me if I'm wrong, this has been my experience, very good at seeing, touching, feeling, and learning in that way as opposed to reading a book or sitting in a class getting a lecture. So it opens up many doors for them.
Absolutely. Like we were mentioning about experience being the best education, we spent a long time helping professors understand the best supports for someone who's neurodiverse in the classroom. And a lot of the accommodations are really suitable for every student, but unique in very specific ways, especially in terms of language. And social communication and understanding. Well, those challenges translate to the workplace.
Yes.
And yet the support no longer exists.
Right.
So educating employers on the benefits of hiring people who are neurodiverse is one of our missions, actually.
Okay.
So I think the gaps are really twofold. When you're about 18 and you finished high school, and then let's just act like you went to college and graduated there. Let's pretend you're maybe 22, 23 at best.
Yeah.
And there's another drop off of now what? I might be moving back home.
Right.
Trying to figure out where to work,
yeah.
where to live.
Well, and that actually goes into my next question, so I'll go ahead and ask you so you can continue on with it. Why is it that so many autistic graduates end up moving back home? Is it that comfort zone of their family being their safe space?
Good question. I honestly have to say it's a little bit of the lack of resources that exist within higher ed, specifically through career education. There's a lot of support that happens while you're in college, but oftentimes students don't take advantage of it because they're neck deep in finishing their degree.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so the idea of internships that are actually driven by the university system are where I think we could provide more support. So that way there is a natural transition from, let's say, cybersecurity to employment.
Right.
Let's say education to teaching. Having a stronger bridge, be it through career education, be it through the college that you earned your degree, could be one start. But also on the opposite end of, again, educating employers that, the benefits of hiring someone with autism are much more profound than the potential challenges. And so usually, in my experience, when I even say the word autism, there's a fear factor or there is a fascination factor. And you can tell pretty immediately,
right?
Which it is, even in the language that people use to describe others.
Right.
And so I've been getting better at being a listener to better understand that baseline knowledge.
Yeah.
And so we got to start somewhere.
Absolutely.
And so I'm all about educating folks, just Autism 101.
Well,
what is it?
And I think, and it's not just autism, I think as humans, we're so predispositioned, I guess would be the word, to these beliefs that we grow up surrounding us, whether it be, and I hate a lot of the verbiage that people have used over the, centuries for people that have autism. But it's like we hear it, we live it, we breathe it, so we believe it until we get older and start asking questions for ourselves, or maybe meet someone like it was Leon, meet a Leon, a Lowell, yeah. So meeting him and making that change in your personal development of, whoa, this is nothing like what I grew up thinking that it was,
That's a great perspective because you only know what you know.
Absolutely.
And you're a product of what you listen to or hear or watch, how you're raised.
Absolutely.
And so I hadn't really thought about that as much as just how education can shape your perspectives.
Yes.
Because I definitely became more open to learning once I finished high school.
Yes.
And even in a small town like Huntington, West Virginia, which I consider a small town.
Yes.
There's only so much room for growth, and so we have to expand beyond
the
state borders.
You really do. You have to.
We talked about Appalachia because I believe that exists within 13 states, either 11 or 13 states. And so I'm looking to move beyond just a statewide perspective into how sort of the views of that state shape the understanding of autism.
I love that. That sounds so fun. Like I'm like excited over here. I'm kind of like jealous that I didn't go into this room. I still can. Yes, there always is time. You talked about your challenges starting reaching spectrum heights and things like that. What led you to decide the kinds of support systems that would make the biggest difference in our region?
Oh, that's a good question because that first year and a half or so, I was just doing needs assessments. And so I had a role actually with a friend of mine. His name is Derek Pugh. He and his wife, Cindy, own a company called New School Scholars. Okay. And they hired me actually through the Division of Rehab before I even started the company.
Oh, wow.
To do those career trainings.
Yeah.
So that's the reason I was at Midland Trail. And, you're going to have to repeat what that question was.
Oh, well, and I asked it in a big roundabout way, but just to get it straight to the point, what kind of support systems would make the biggest difference in our region? What led you to decide what those were?
Thank you. So that was one piece of it, asking the classroom. But the other piece was going to places like Lincoln County High School, where I was able to meet other people with autism and ask them questions. And it really made me sad because there's not a lot to do, no offense to Hamlin, West Virginia, but in Hamlin, West Virginia.
There's not a lot of resources. And I can say that based on, we were talking about, I did prevention work for Prestera before I got into the job that I'm in now. And going into those schools all the way around in the prevention world, but outside of that, just in the real world, they're so far removed from modern day. We joke and say here in West Virginia, that we're like 10 years behind on everything. But you go into like Hamlin or Mingo County, and they're sometimes 25 to 30 years behind. And it's such a if you're not in the mainstream and you don't realize the resources that are available in your community, you stay in that 25 to 30 year behind gap.
Yes.
So unless you are given the privilege and the honor and the ability to get to know these people in these nonprofit worlds and things like that, you stay in that gap.
Yes.
And it's such a sad reality because you want to see these kids succeed, whatever it takes, but you're like, well, how can I help them here in Lincoln County, in Hamlin, West Virginia?
Yes.
Yeah.
That's a big correlation with your podcast title, because the Tri-State Time Machine is kind of paused in some areas within the state.
Yes.
I remember 20 years ago talking about autism resources, and we were just talking about Wi-Fi, right?
Yeah.
We're trying to go to the public library so we can access Wi-Fi, so we can access trainings, education, etc. And so hopefully, thankfully, in most areas within our state, we have those resources now.
Right.
Because, as we know, AI has changed everything.
It really has.
In a lot of positive ways, though, too.
Absolutely.
And so the majority of our work has been virtual, so people can at least still access service providers. But to jump back to Hamlin, I'm thinking of social activities.
Yeah.
I'm going to either Dollar General, McDonald's, maybe Walmart,
the bank,
maybe the public,
one bank.
I'm going to the bank. I might be getting some good meals down at the MMR.
That's what I was going to say. Yeah.
M&R.
M&R, yes.
Gotta go there.
Yes, we used to always have our prevention meetings in the back room there because it's the hub. It's the hub of the community.
That's where I'm sitting with my laptop.
Yeah. Yes, exactly.
But those places exist. And
yes.
So our role with RSH was really to meet people there. So at the beginning of the development of our relationship with DRS and RSH, we were meeting at Salt Rock Public Library, and we're talking about transition from high school, and are you wanting to go to college? If not, where are you going to live? And so I think capturing the people in terms of what we need to do now, the needs are there. Like,
absolutely.
I'm not the competitive type when it comes to the world of autism, because there's more than enough people to serve.
Absolutely.
Always have been, always will be, in terms of my perspective. And so I like to do what we can with what we have now.
Yes.
Because the 32-year-old in Hamlin is still sitting there needing social networks with other people that might not even be peer-aged, but other people that have unique perspectives, that want to also watch a movie together or go to dinner together.
Right.
And so those are the people I want to reach.
And I think a lot of times, and like me specifically, I'm sitting here thinking those are things that I wouldn't think of that they're missing in their day-to-day life, because we, as quote unquote normal, human beings that don't suffer from these setbacks or differences, and I hate that language. I wish I wouldn't have said that. But we don't think about it. We just call up a friend and we're like, "Hey, you want to see a movie?" But then maybe they're lacking those personal skills,
right? That was shocking to me.
That fear of rejection, or just what will it be like? Is it just too overwhelming to even ask?
Well, you're a natural, person to person kind of gal.
Thank you.
You're relatable.
Yes.
You are beautiful, first of all.
Thank you.
So you have a natural smile to engage with people. You're curious. And so those qualities also exist in people with autism. But the idea of making it a fluid conversation, the idea of knowing personal space, the idea of knowing hygiene, eye contact, the anxiety that goes into doing what we're doing right now can prevent someone from walking out the front door.
Absolutely.
So we certainly take it for granted that we got to go down to the Coworks building and do a podcast today,
Absolutely.
right? Based on
Absolutely.
where we live or what skills we may possess. But what RSH does is really model those skills. So I wish I even had a couple of our clients who are really interested in journalism.
Maybe next time.
Yeah, next time. There's a series waiting to happen.
Yes, there absolutely is. My listeners are going to love this. I just know that they are. Yes.
I hope so. But yeah, it's really just modeling. It's providing those opportunities for the exposure.
Yeah.
So.
Okay. Great answer. No, great answer. What are the most common workplace misunderstandings about autistic employees?
Yeah, I think the misunderstanding involves, I guess, just not getting to know the person and their needs first. Because I've been talking to a lot of people with autism lately, as early as last week in person with a guy from Virginia, talking about not wanting to disclose to his employer because of that stigma that exists. And so
I get
what happens is, best case scenario, you get the job, but then there will be challenges, be it with coworkers, be it with understanding the assignment, be it with not having a mentor to go to really understand, again, what the expectation is. Because the challenges don't lie in not knowing how to do the work. It's not knowing that hidden curriculum within the workplace, the water cooler talk, if you will. It's purposeless. Yeah. The small talk that how's the weather, how's your dog doing?
How's the kids?
Waste of time.
What are you doing for Thanksgiving?
Less, but I'm going to say this because you're supposed to.
Yeah.
And so that can be exhausting too.
It is for everyone. So I can only imagine when your battery is already like at 40%, and then you've got the dreaded lunch hour. I get that.
Chit chat.
Yeah.
Or the lunch hour when I can go and do what I want to recharge. Be it sit in my car and cry.
Right.
Hopefully not.
Yes, I get it.
Go to lunch with a friend.
Yes.
To recharge. And so I'm glad you mentioned social battery because that is critical. Understanding.
Yes.
And it's not just autism. You've seen those memes or reels of, hey, don't talk to me because I'll talk forever.
Yes.
In the back of the desk.
Yes.
That's an modification. That's an accommodation.
Yes.
Is what that is. I know it sounds strange.
No, it is though.
Remove the autism from all of this and really just talk about best ways to create that optimal environment for productivity.
Yeah. And I think our younger generations, and I think of my son when I think of this, he's 23, when he was growing up, he was just so open-minded. These younger generations are so open and willing to accept and understand, and I don't want to say change because they're not really changing, but they're accepting of pretty much everyone and everything. I had a really hard time, and this sounds awful, but I had a really hard time with one of his really good friends growing up was a little girl, and I always knew her as a little girl, yada, yada, yada. They get in high school, she transitions. I kept wanting to call her by her name, and it wasn't that I wasn't accepting of the fact that she had transitioned or he had transitioned. It was so hard for me to forget the person that he was before. So my son just kind of like one day he got frustrated because I was talking about the friend and I called him by her name, and he's like, why do you keep doing that? Like you're going to slip up and you're going to do that in front of him, and it's really going to upset him. And I'm like, you're right, and I'm sorry. I'm trying to do better. Right. It's just really hard for me. And when I think of you guys, I think of the memories of you guys playing video games in the living room floor, and I picture a little girl. I don't picture this person that he has become. I'm getting to know that person, but as they're older, they're not hanging out at my house anymore. They're not, I don't have that one-on-one connection anymore. So I haven't built that relationship I have now, but at the beginning, I had not built that relationship with him to, in my mind, click him. But back to that, their generation is just so open, and I think the world is getting better for it.
I agree. And I think what's different about your experience there is you are wanting to learn more and be mindful of pronouns.
Absolutely.
I think what's unique about this conversation, it's important because I work with a lot of parents, both now with RSH and also when I was at Marshall. And we had many students that were transitioning. And our role is to be respectful of what that student wants, especially if they're 18. Right?
Absolutely.
However, we're also working with families and how they're transitioning with the transition, right?
Yes.
And so you mentioned the younger generation, and I actually do have a current client who's a junior in college on the West Coast, and they are transitioning us also. And so I just asked them, I said, what's more prominent, the autism or the fact that you're a they? And that was a really bold question.
Yeah, very.
Just
you have a great relationship.
I've been working with them for over a year and a half. And still 20 years later, I'm learning what to do and how to be respectful so I can make sure that I'm educating others in the proper way. And it depends on the family, too, and the acceptance of the family.
Right.
And they said to me, it's no big deal. It's irrelevant. Like, it's a non-factor.
Oh.
And I think they're about 23 years old or so. And so I think the age matters.
Yeah.
You know, we've gotten into this generation of self-diagnosis, which is not good.
Right.
We need to find the professionals who can tell us exactly what the diagnosis is. And I can get on a tangent there. That could be an episode.
Well, I was going to say, just to add in, like, you need the right professionals, because just because they're a doctor doesn't mean that they're the right person for you.
Very true.
Yes.
Very true. I've been asked that a lot, actually, especially with ADHD and autism, because we're seeing a shift even in just neurodiversity in general.
Yes, absolutely.
And so our current DSM, which is the manual that people, psychologists use to diagnose people, is changing here, hopefully sooner than later. Usually it's about every 7 years. So we're on a version that it's time to really better understand what autism specifically is going to look like and how that will fit in any sort of umbrella, because it's changed from the 1988 version of Rain Man, autism, PDD-NOS, or Asperger's syndrome, or Asperger's disorder, to ASD level 1, 2, or 3. So now today, if you were to go to a psychologist and say, hey, I'm wondering if my child has autism, they're going to assess them, and you'll be diagnosed, if it is, with either level 1, 2, or 3. And really, it's an idea of severity and accommodations. And so it's really sort of a vague way of understanding what you're going to need as you get older.
For sure.
That's why it's so hard for autistic adults, because we're seeing especially women being diagnosed.
I was getting ready to say that when women are finally like figuring out this is not how it was supposed to be all this
100%.
time, you know?
Yes, those mass behaviors.
I did that with my ADHD, it's big. And when you get properly medicated and can finally like breathe without 100 thoughts coming to your brain before you remember to exhale, it's major.
Yes.
It's huge.
It changes your life.
It allows me to do the podcast.
Yes.
It really does, because otherwise I would have been a hot mess. There's too many buttons. It's glowing. Like, I've got all this going on, and it would have been too much for me. It really would have.
Better? What changed in your life?
So I lost my mother and started going to therapy for that. And thank you for that.
I'm sorry.
And got to talking with my therapist, and she's like, have you ever seen a psychologist? And I was like, no, why? And she was like,
something must be really
she was
wrong.
like, I really think you should. I think it would be amazing for you. And so I did, and the rest is history.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
And I'm glad you share that, because I'm a middle-aged woman also.
Yes.
And so things change.
They really do, and they change
With
fast.
your hormones. They change
Oh, my
with your mind,
gosh.
And not to blame anything, but I do think it makes you want to know more about yourself.
Absolutely.
And having a diagnosis like that is an identity situation, too.
Yes.
Because now you're thinking back, analyzing all of those years.
All of them.
Right.
Every single moment.
Right?
Yes.
But what we can control is today and hopefully tomorrow a little bit.
Yeah.
Right? And so I'm glad that you talk about that, because now you know the method for working.
Yes.
It's your best hours, the best environment.
And that's the thing that I think a lot of people don't understand. You've spoken on it many times now since you've been here, but that flexibility is everything. It's everything. And I could see how, like, because when you're a student, you're on, say, Marshall's time.
Yeah, you are.
You have to do those classes when they offer them, and you may not be a morning person. That may be the worst time of the day for you to sit in a room and take in a lesson or, whatever it may be. But had you been able to take that, at like 1 or 2 and started your morning out the way you wanted to start it out instead of, that hurry up, down my coffee and get out the door,
not my best self after that.
It's a big change, It makes a difference.
Yes.
It really does.
Well, and change is that critical, not 4-letter word, but might as well be for oftentimes folks with people with autism.
Yeah.
Because the routine and consistency is predictable. It provides comfort and safety. I missed people with autism walking in my office. Like, that was one of the primary reasons that I started over.
You knew it was a calling.
I missed having Bradley walk in and tell me my nail polish color was crap.
Yes.
And ask me if I wished that I was a size 2, like Celine Dion.
Just brutally honest.
Yeah. I was never bored.
Yeah.
And so boredom and Becca do not go well. So I'm like, well, I guess I'll just start a company.
Yeah. Why not? Why not?
The most scary thing for us right now is transitioning to a nonprofit, because I don't know if I got to tell you that in our
No, that's exciting.
But I've been a part of a lot of nonprofits in different capacities, but never as the director.
Yeah.
And so I'm looking forward to being able to serve more people.
Absolutely.
Through grant opportunities for Appalachia. And so that's going to be the long-term goal.
Okay.
But as of right now, we are working with a law firm here in Huntington, Nelson Mullins.
Okay.
And an attorney named Will Donovan has been a huge resource for us.
It's very exciting.
Understand the transition and make sure that we're doing everything properly.
Yeah, that's the scary part, is making sure you're checking all the boxes.
Yes.
Like, is there something I'm missing?
You need all the people who have those skills.
Yes.
That was a huge awakening also. It's like, Becca, you can't be the accountant. You can't be the info call person.
Which is hard for, like, I don't want to say it's just females, but I feel like we have it a little bit harder or more hard because, we want to do it all. We want to be the best mom, the best wife, the best employee, or, in your case, the best leader. And we can't do it all.
Right.
And it's really hard to swallow that pill sometimes.
Bianca reminds me of that all the time, thankfully. She's the yin to my yang. She'll say, Rebecca, you can't be good at everything.
Yes. You're like, why not? Why not?
Remember the MCAT you flunked 4 times? Humble pie.
Oh, that's so funny. So we're kind of leading right into my question, so this works really well. If a business owner is listening today, what are 3 simple things that they can do to create a better environment for neurodivergent employees?
Get to know them. You were mentioning earlier just about transgender and knowing, hey, why are you a she now? I know it sounds super invasive, but when we were doing trainings, allies trainings about autism, one of the last slides was about just ask them, because you can't go wrong by asking what that person prefers.
Absolutely, and I think we get nervous because we don't want to offend anyone, but I have found that curiosity, or that, that desire to ask, why is it that you wanted to become a him instead of a her?
There you go.
What about it? I would love to know. I'm curious.
Well, and that's the curiosity, I think, that kind of relates back to what we're talking about in terms of exposure and kind of getting out of your hometown bubble. Because, again, you don't know what you don't know yet.
Exactly.
But you can't go wrong with just saying, hey, tell me more about yourself, which is a terrible... I know it was on your interview questions.
No, you're
this
fine.
Is the worst thing anybody can ask, because which part of myself do you want to know? Right?
Well, and it's good to see what people think of themselves, because you don't want to pull something out and make them uncomfortable, So that's the reason for the question. But yeah, I agree with you.
There's a quick funny story actually about tell me about yourself, because I was doing this training about employment, and one of the questions usually is tell me about yourself, right? And then someone with autism might say, well, I'm really good at putting my ankles behind my ears. This actually happened at a residence meeting with a young man I was working with back at Marshall. And I'm like, man, I just don't know that was the first thing to open up with, because he then proceeded to show them.
He showed them
how to put his ankles behind his ears, which is a great talent. However, freshman year of college might not be the best.
Right, not be the best place. Yes.
And so I think just getting to know, like, the beauty of knowing someone that thinks differently. I actually am really in a big shift of feeling somewhat bad about trying to fit that neurodiverse person into that neurotypical world.
Right, I get that.
Because even though that neurotypical world exists, it might be that we're better off if it's vice versa.
I I 110% agree.
And so I was sitting in a conference and learned that. I was listening to someone on the spectrum, and they were saying, for years I had to go to all these social skills groups, and they were teaching me eye contact and how to shake a hand, and it really is a bunch of BS, because you should just get to know me better and to know that I don't like to touch and shake hands.
Right.
Or whatever it might
be.
Right? So that's my best roundabout way to answer the employer piece, like the top 3, is just take the time to know what they're interested in.
If you do that, you don't need the other 2.
Well, don't freak out either if it's about robotics or about, let's just say, 1980s music.
Right,
fill in the
right.
blank of special interest.
Yeah.
But know that you might have to stop that person from talking about their special interest and move on to, okay, here's what we're actually doing in the workplace.
Right.
And then I'm going to tell you a little bit about my special interest.
Yeah.
And make you listen to it.
Exactly.
Even if it's boring.
Yes, absolutely.
So it's a give and take.
I love that. And that's simple. That's something that we as humans can take that knowledge in, take that in and very easily make that change. Very, very easily. What does meaningful and sustainable employment look like for the individual that you serve?
I think meaningful is very different than sustainable, because we have a lot of clients that are college educated and working at Target or working at Food Fair or working at a job that they could have gotten without a college degree.
Right.
Okay. And that's because they can't afford rent with that type of employment. So sustainable is one thing. We might be able to make ends meet.
Right.
But meaningful is another, because meaningful to me is aligning that passion, let's say it's the weather, with a career, meteorology. Right? So that's a win-win when you get to go into college and find that professor who is as obsessed with meteorology as you are. Physics. Let's say you're really into physics.
Right.
Let's figure out how you're going to become an electrician. Or let's figure out how to be a train conductor.
Yeah.
I know it sounds kind of silly, but you can be a train conductor.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yes.
And so knowing what those dreams require, when I first started out at the Autism Training Center, this is back in 2005, I would do family planning sessions, and we would be doing action plans, and we were making future plans for families, and I'd say, okay, what's the goal? And the dream might be, I want to be president.
Oh.
Okay. What's it going to take to become president, right? And so then we would line it out and see, is this realistic or not? And if it is realistic, great, then I guess we're going to go into poli-sci or we're going to XYZ. And so you never want it to diminish what that dream was, but translating it into reality based on not just the education for that career, but the independent living it might take, or the transportation it might take if you don't drive, or the resources financially it will take to get there.
Right.
So I really am passionate about providing future planning sessions for that 30-something who may be living back at home.
Yeah.
And
that's happening a lot in our world.
Yes. Well, families can only still be that mom-dad role, son-daughter role. You need that other person to be the buffer, be it a counselor, be it someone with RSH, to have those hard conversations.
Yeah, absolutely.
You're going to become complacent.
Yeah.
Be a little stagnant.
Absolutely. Do you see any misconceptions or stereotypes that you find yourself correcting often?
Yes, I do. I think we were talking earlier about just the understanding of autism and language, and using the language that you know. I think we're going backwards right now a little bit in terms of what's okay and what's not.
Yeah.
I know we're going backwards in terms of understanding the causes of autism.
I would agree with that. Without even any science background, just being in this world in this time, I would agree with that.
We were always taught when doing trainings to not just try to skirt that cause issue and try to skirt that cure discussion. And I am not going to skirt it. I'll tell you exactly how I feel about things, but they need to be research-based. Yes. They need to be founded on facts. And so digging for the right information is crucial, because we're doing a major disservice to today's pregnant woman. We're doing a major disservice to the 40-year-old mom who has someone with autism, instilling additional guilt if she had taken Tylenol. Jenny McCarthy ought to be ashamed of herself for writing a book about vaccines. That's right around the time when I got to know anything about autism.
I would agree with that 100%.
My role at the time was an intake coordinator. I'm this 24-year-old something that knows nothing about autism. And my job was to take the phones, get the information. And one of the questions on the intake form was, have you been had your vaccines, specifically the MMR? Mm-hmm. And at that moment in the call, I had hundreds of parents, predominantly moms, say that's when my child got autism because they were immobile after that, or the symptoms started happening. Mm-hmm. Well, that is the developmental age that the symptoms start happening by happenstance, right? And so I ended up fast forwarding, marrying a physician. And I didn't expect to do that, and I didn't expect to be having a conversation with him about vaccines and MMR. But because of those hundreds of calls, my mind was shaped into the fear of, what if this is right?
Yeah, what if I, start to have children and
for sure,
and I have to worry about this?
Exactly.
I have these new fears unlocked.
They were in my head, you know, and I knew it was untrue because at that time, we had found out the truth.
We had data, yeah.
And so I digress into this because it's what's happening today. And so I want to make sure that we're staying relevant. But you asked me a question about where I feel like the most harm is being done. Mm-hmm. I think it's with people believing what they're hearing.
Social media sometimes can be the devil, especially with like these influencers, and I say that with air quotes. People think because people have this big podium to stand on and have things to say that they must be correct. And that is just not true, guys. Do your own research. It's not hard. We have the internet at our fingertips, and be mindful of where you're getting your information from. Make sure it's reputable information, So yeah, I agree 100%. You've worked closely with parents of autistic children or autistic adults for many years. What do families need the most during that transition into adulthood?
That's a great question. I think what's happening is they're creating one of two different scenarios, and that is very dependent upon their income. Because many people that afford housing for their young adult might be creating an environment that the adult becomes dependent upon that rent, for example. But it's keeping the peace at home.
Right.
It's keeping everyone in a position of comfort, but it's not sustainable. And even if it is sustainable, my perspective on that is you're likely stunting growth in some capacity.
I agree 100%.
But it's beneficial at a time. It's working.
Yes.
On the other hand, you have people that are living back at home because they don't want to afford rent because for various reasons. Let's say the person is not ready to live on their own.
Yeah.
Or can't sustain that rent once they get there. And so they're having to develop this system at home that's new. And I'm speaking to your college student that's coming back. You had this season of support,
right?
But now it's starting over because it's now about employment. And it's such a great thing to really enjoy the success of you graduated from college or you graduated from high school.
Right.
It's a big win.
It's huge.
But unless you're planning for the year after, then you're not going to be ready, and we're going to be in a position of fast forward 15 years, we're still here working at Target.
And still not ready for the real world.
Right.
Yeah.
And so what's happening with parents specifically, they're needing help in terms of being able to focus their time and attention on their aging parents. So they're in that sandwich generation of having young adults who
I like the way you worded that, the sandwich.
It's exactly what it is.
Yeah.
And so we, as a RSH team, can help alleviate that focused attention. Let's say it's, okay, now Johnny needs to apply for a job, but you're going to help him do it because I'm helping my mom go to this doctor's appointment.
Yeah.
And then you're going to report back to me of how many jobs Johnny applied to this week.
Right.
And so it's almost like that accountability partner. And it's the same type of service we used in mentorship in higher ed. It just works. Truly, what I've done, Vanessa, is model what happened there within the environment that's outside of the constraints of higher ed.
I was going to say, a lot of the things that we're talking about, and again, I think back to my 23-year-old son, we're talking about these constraints and things like that. We were having a conversation, and I say this because I don't think, although there is differences, and there are big differences, but also at the same time they seem so small in retrospect. he is not on the spectrum that I'm aware of. We've never looked into it. He may be, considering my DNA, but he was so angry in the beginning of moving out and finding his place in the world and things like that, because he had so many friends who had parents that paid for their college, paid for everything while they were in college, and they graduated and had this great income coming in as soon as they graduated, and they got to just keep that money because parents paid for the college. Right. So they didn't incur any of that debt. But now that he's been out, for 4 or 5 years on his own, he's so successful in his own right that makes you so proud. So I think the same things that you're saying with people who are on the spectrum, you don't want to, as a parent, enable and set them up for failure. But the same could be said for teenagers who are not on,
Exactly.
So I don't think it's that different. I think people hear autism, and like you said, they go one or two ways. But I think in our region specifically, I think it goes more towards a negative way or a fearful way. And that's just been my reality. You see a lot more than I do. But be a human. Treat humans like you want to be treated as a human. And it's not that hard.
No,
it's really
not. And I think the fear is, again, that picture in your head that you have of the proverbial Rain Man. And that depends on how old you are.
Yes.
And so I think age and access to information is really critical. So again, with the Tri-State Time Machine, you have to go back to 1988. You have to go back to 2004, and then go back to 2013. And now it's today. And so we've evolved.
We absolutely.
A lot of access of resources, support, information. I feel like it's a good time to be alive in terms of support in this area.
Yeah.
And again, that deals with demographics and access to resources. But I love how you said that he was angry. I'm sure it wasn't a pleasant time.
No, it was not.
But anger tells you something. When I'm angry, I'm like, what am I angry about? You can kind of analyze the backstory. What was the antecedent to his anger? And it was that change.
Yes.
You're making me do this. We got to, and I don't
and
want
the fear. And the fear. Like, I remember the fear of moving out on my own.
Right.
And so, like, you have to stop and put yourself in their shoes and understand.
Well, and that's why things like orientation for, be it 6th grade or college, is so important.
Absolutely.
For people. I want to see what it's like. Like, even today, I had no idea.
Right.
And there's a bit of nervousness that's natural, but also some that will prevent functioning.
Yes. So. Yes, absolutely. I get that a lot with people who come on the podcast, because they come in thinking, because a lot of podcasters do video and things like that, but they get so nervous thinking, oh my God, everyone's going to be watching like every move that I'm making, every breath that I take, every, but that's what's great about podcasting is we're in this room, no one sees us, no one has no idea that, you look phenomenal today and I'm in my leggings and my t-shirt and no one knows that. So it's a beautiful thing about being able to have these conversations without the fear of anyone worrying about anything other than, are we speaking clearly enough for them to understand and enjoy and learn what we're talking about?
That's what's so beautiful about audio and visual components.
Yes.
Because it's like email and in-person communication.
Yes.
And sometimes it's a much better fit for people to read and understand and respond in writing versus in person.
Yes.
Did I say the wrong thing? Or, things that can't really be edited.
How socially awkward was I? What can I take back?
I had to have some self-talk this morning to say, all right, Rebecca, don't say anything.
I get it. I get it. 100%. So let's talk a little bit about community issues and tri-state needs.
Okay.
Where do you feel Huntington or the tri-state is succeeding in neurodivergent support?
We're definitely succeeding in terms of Marshall being one of the leading places to come if you have autism for higher ed. But we were talking earlier about vocational tracks, and I just had the opportunity to visit out west last week. And I met with their office there of Student Affairs, Disability Services, and talking about accessibility. And they're trying to create a better space for people to come and have a thrift shop, to come and get academic advising, to come and do their homework. So it's really, if you have some time, hop in their lobby. It's phenomenal. But community colleges, I feel like, are great places to earn your education. But the downside to them is typically not having residence life.
Right.
And so they are charged with creating an environment where people want to stay. And again, we had talked about that space.
Yes.
Same with Coworks. I want to have access to other people that are doing the same thing.
Yes.
Be it working in a different field, but it's still seeing another human being.
Yeah.
Right. And so, I think what's lacking is that bridge, though, from graduation to employment.
Gotcha.
Which, I believe that I'm in the right places to talk to the right people to make more opportunities happen in terms of bridging the gap with entrepreneurship. That's definitely one of our goals, is to make sure that Marshall specifically is equipped with the people and the places that it needs to support that gap, because you can only do so much with what you have.
Right.
But the alumni relations is really where it's at. How connected do you stay to your alma mater? Maybe not at all. But maybe that's who you really identified with.
Yeah.
Like if we go back to folks that don't go to college, the Lincoln County High School grad is really dreading graduation because they know they're going to not have the access to people anymore.
Right.
And so I think we have to be really mindful of what that comfort zone looked like and figure out how we can recreate it.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. I love that so much. Sometimes I get so wrapped up and I forget that I'm the host and I need to get back on track. I'm like, oh my gosh, you can just keep talking to me about this. Like, I love it.
Talk all day.
I love it so much. So what would a truly inclusive tri-state workforce look like in your dream world?
Oh, yes. I think my dream world would not have an interview process.
Oh my God, that's a dream.
The interview process is critical. I get the purpose of it, but back in 2015, when I was writing my dissertation, I wrote about understanding the employment preparedness needs for college graduates with Asperger's. So it was right around the time when Asperger's was being removed from the DSM and we were going to this level system. And many students were struggling with, that's my identity. Like, that's how the world knew that I was more high functioning than someone else,
for sure,
for lack of better words. But that's what they were telling me. And so I think having a place where you wouldn't have to disclose, that you can just say, hey, I'm actually better at 9 a.m. or I'm better at 9 p.m. because of a sleep pattern versus whatever it might be. So just ways with which people who are neurodiverse can express what they need exist. So you don't have to come out and say, hey, I have ADHD or I have autism. You could just say, I need to stay focused with one question at a time. And you might have to repeat it or bring me back on track. And so those accommodations can be put into place in a very easy way.
Yeah, absolutely.
Fluorescent lighting, for example. It might be putting a dimmer on the light. It might be having a chair that's more conducive to that person.
Right.
But employers oftentimes think it's going to cost me a lot of money to make these accommodations, or I'm going to have to train all of my team to know that.
And literally,
person.
It could be like one small thing, like the chair, like you said.
Exactly.
That could be all that it takes to make them feel happy at home and to do that job to their standard. Yeah, that's a very good answer. Very good answer. So let's talk about the woman-led business here, okay? So that's exciting.
Yes.
It's exciting for all women to hear of another woman being successful. But as a woman leading a small business in Huntington, what has your experience been like?
The Tri-State Leadership Group, honestly. Heather Smith,
fantastic.
Samantha Bond, Sarah Francis Lyons, Dr. Shannon Smith. That core group of people, they've been working it hard for quite some time now.
Yes.
Finding the leaders within our community, allowing them to be speakers each month.
Yes.
Keeping it accessible to people, keeping it creative, because women are thirsty for the space to talk about things. I have definitely learned that. And been honored to be a part of it. So that's one avenue. But the power of these things, like a podcast, the convenience of being able to listen when you want to. People might be driving, they might be home. These sorts of things can help inspire also that they can do it.
Absolutely.
So that's been the biggest benefit. I'm a natural gal's gal. I'm going to be the cheerleader for you. I'm just not the type of person that benefits from anyone failing.
Right.
So I think you can learn a lot about friendships when you see the intention of if they're happy for you when you succeed.
110%.
Been learning a lot about that in this season of my life.
That's a hard pill to swallow sometimes, too.
I've learned the hard way several times.
Yeah, I've got like 3 good friends on that I can count on for literally anything, even if it's them telling me that I'm wrong.
Yes.
But I can count on that.
Yes.
But there are some people that will give you bad information because they don't want to see you succeed.
Right.
You know,
it's
so
unbelievable to me, but it really isn't.
It happens. Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah.
Those people can just chill out.
Absolutely.
Get
Absolutely.
something better to do. Get a hobby.
Okay. So what advice would you give to other women thinking about building something on their own here?
Yeah. What do you have to lose? That's a big question. You know, the whole just do it thing has been taken, I guess, by Nike, but it's true. You know, you have to try. And usually when I've met women that are starting over and they ask me questions like this, they'll say, well, I'm just too nervous to build the website because if I put it out there, then it's real.
Yeah.
I was terrified when the website went live.
Oh, I bet.
Because now people can find you.
Yes.
And they're going to be doing some digging.
Yes.
Right? So you have to be very confident in the skill set. And you have to be able to take a risk. And sometimes that risk is financial. Sometimes it's with your time. Oftentimes it's your time, actually.
Yeah.
Because it's a side gig for a long time.
Yes.
And that leap to making it a full-time gig is terrifying, but you have to take it.
Yes.
Or else you're going to be stuck.
Yes.
And so I think that's my biggest piece of advice is just to find a way to make it happen.
Yeah.
We got a lot of women who have the work ethic like I've never seen before.
We really do. And I didn't know that until being a part of Tri-State Leadership and Junior League and, you know, and I didn't know that world even existed until meeting a few women. They were like, hey, are you coming to lead? What is leadership? Well, yeah, sign me up. They're like, they're on Facebook, look them up and da-da-da-da. And then I'm like, I'm all in. Like, this is great. And you're right. There are so many women that are not only productive, but just shining stars amongst us, you know?
Yes.
They really are.
You know, we had met through the Junior League of Huntington, right? I think
Yes.
we have to give them a shout out, too.
Absolutely.
Because they're a natural catalyst for meeting other people
Yes.
like us. And that was a huge part of my life. You know, the 6-7 years I was an active member because I learned about governance, I learned about communication, I learned about my own weaknesses. And so I think being a part of groups like the Chamber of Commerce
Yes.
Only gives you more exposure to
Absolutely.
learn from other people.
Absolutely.
So, you know, the Tri-State Leadership Group can exist in any tri-state.
It really
This is
can.
a national platform.
Yes.
Truly.
It really is.
And so, I love meeting other people that are trying to make change for the positive.
Yeah, absolutely. And you kind of we keep doing this. We keep answering my questions before I even asked them. My question was going to be, how have you found strong support? But we just discussed it. So let's do a little bit of fun and lighthearted stuff. Okay, you chose on our intake form, or I say intake form, but you chose the 1990s as your time machine decade.
Please.
What would you want to experience or see in Huntington during that time?
Oh, crisscross to come back.
Oh my gosh, that would be
Wear my
fun.
jeans backwards any day of the week. No, the 90s for sure, because I wasn't here.
Yeah.
I was born in 1980, and so this is the 45th year I've been on this planet. And, you know, for me, this sort of midlife era, if you will, has been enlightening to really go with, okay, time is of the essence.
Yes.
And, you know, it goes so quickly. We have 2 daughters, and so seeing their growth and development flash by has been really wild.
Oh, yes. Oh,
I
yes.
don't like it much, but it's reality. So I want the 90s because I want to see what was going on and if we would have done anything differently, especially in terms of, you know, support for employment. I'd want to know more about what was going on in terms of the development of Pullman Square. You know, when I first came to college here, I think it was a Chi-Chi's maybe.
Yes, I think so.
You know, and it's fun to reminisce about what towns were like. But I think the history can tell us a little bit about the current.
It absolutely can. It absolutely can. You know, we were recording a podcast yesterday with Amy Dill. I don't know if you know her or not, but she's a writer here in Huntington. And we were talking about the 70s and 80s. We were doing our Christmas episode. So we were talking about the 70s and 80s Christmas in Huntington. And we were discussing, you know, what all this looked like and stuff. And I said, you know, it's very interesting to me. I just turned 40 this year. So we're very close in age. So yes, I love it. I love getting older. In my 30s, I was a little hesitant of whether I liked it or not. But as I approached 40, I'm like, this is life. Like, this is the good stuff, you know? But I'm now, and I was telling Amy this, I'm driving downtown and I'm like, oh my gosh, the place that I used to go to dance with my girlfriends in college, it's not there anymore. Right. The pool hall that everybody hung out at, it's now like a sandwich place, you know? So I'm like, okay, when we were younger and we would get so bored hearing the stories from our parents, our grandparents about this used to be this and this used to be that. I'm living that now. Right? I'm living it now.
You're starting to talk with your parents.
Yes. It really, but I love every minute of it. I really do. Yeah. I love every second of it. What is Milo's role in this business?
Mr. Milo Cooper. Milo is, my girlfriend Dominique Elmore, Dr. Dominique. She's amazing. Lives in Lewisburg. Everybody in this tri-state listening to this will know Dominique Elmore.
Okay.
She's a bright, shining star. She was president of the student body at Marshall years ago.
Oh, nice. So everyone should know who she is, I'm sure, because a lot of our listeners are like alumni or people who grew up here and moved away for work or school or, like whatever. Fabulous. So that's most of our listeners.
I reference her because she calls Milo. But Milo is our Bernedoodle. He was won at an auction.
Okay.
I was the only bidder.
So it wasn't a hard one to win.
It's a cool story because we had a family at the time. They actually still do. It's a place called Farmer Doodles up in Ohio, Medina, Ohio. And they had donated a puppy as one of the gifts. Yes. We were doing this online auction. And sure enough, it was the season of life where I thought, oh, sure, we have 2 children. Why not get a puppy?
Why not have a puppy?
But he is the joy of my life for sure. Yes. Our whole family's, but he's really my dog.
Yes.
But he loves to be naughty. He is definitely part mountain dog. He will climb on anything. He's black and white, so I'm really wanting to get him groomed where he's like dyed, where he looks like a tiger.
Yes, how fun.
You see those?
Yes.
I don't think that our tri-state offers that service.
I was going to say, you might need to go to like Raleigh or somewhere like that.
But
somewhere more on cutting edge.
He actually has a birthday on Friday. He'll be 5.
Oh, nice. Happy birthday. I love that. I love the little story leading up to him as well. What's something about autism or neurodiversity that you wish that everyone just simply knew?
Yeah, I wish they knew that it's actually, I hate using the word superpower because it's so overused and ridiculous in my mind.
But it kind of is.
It is a serious benefit.
Yes.
People that have autism, forgive me if you don't feel this way, but I have seen nothing but pros, meaning even the challenges, let's say these significant challenges, let's say self-harm, or let's say struggling with verbal language.
Right.
Even more severe cases can show the beauty in life. And so I think I just want people to see the assets of having a friend that has autism, because in my experience, that's usually the hardest thing to maintain, our friendships, for lack of ability of knowing how to access them in the first place, but then how to maintain them. A lot of executive functioning skill goes into planning a dinner date with a friend. And sometimes that's just too much to bother with to make it happen. And so I wish that people knew what a challenge that can be, but to see the benefit that when it does happen, what a beautiful relationship it can be.
I would agree with that.
I think a lot of my most quality time is spent with people with autism.
Yeah.
And I'm so honored to have that access again.
Yes.
But I had to create it.
Yeah.
It doesn't happen naturally. You're not just going to go down to the public library and, a bunch of 30-year-olds with autism.
Looking for a neurodivergent friend. Right. Anybody want to sign up?
So we make it happen. Every Thursday for 30 weeks a year, we have the opportunity here in Huntington to do something social. Okay. So in addition to virtual services, we offer social skills groups.
Oh, nice.
Both virtually and in person.
Yeah.
And so we just wrapped up our last one with a Friendsgiving, but we'll start again on January 4th.
Nice.
And so to put a little plug in for that, if you're someone who's neurodiverse, and especially in that 20-something, 30-something age range, we do fun things within the community that anyone else might be doing.
Yeah.
And so I firmly believe in modeling behavior and integrating within that natural community setting.
Right.
And so, yeah, I think the friendship piece would be my answer.
Okay. I think that's a great answer. Yeah,
honestly.
I think that's a great answer. And not only are we gaining an incredible friend, because you're not going to find someone more loyal. In my experience,
Exactly.
you're not going to find someone more loyal that has your back.
Yes.
As soon as you're out of that room, how dare anyone say a bad
Yes.
word about you? Like,
I'm all about
not
loyalty.
happening. Yes.
Yes.
So you're definitely missing out if you do not have any friends on the spectrum in any way, shape, or form, because they are some of the most loyal people that I have ever met.
And funny. Like,
And oh my gosh, so funny. So
can't
funny.
think
Like
of
funny in a way that like you can't even like funny in ways that like you can't even if you wanted to be. Like there's no way, because it comes so naturally for them.
Annie's Nancy's daughter. And she's just that woman that can tell it like it is.
Yeah.
Which I admire. But because I know her, it's even more I don't know the word to use, but her natural like ability to be magnetic with her stories.
Yes.
It makes you want to spend more time with her.
Yes, exactly. All right, so what is the best way for someone to work with you or connect a loved one with your services?
Absolutely. Our website first, would love to visit our website. It's just reachingspectrumheights.com. We also have a couple different social media platforms. We have TikTok and Instagram and Facebook. We
love
also
me
have a
some
Google
TikTok.
review. So if you Google Reaching Spectrum Heights, we kept the word autism out of the name, so it's hard for people to really recognize that this is a service for people with autism. But we wanted to be mindful that our goal is really for people to reach the next height in their life, whatever that might look like. And so you can find us online and give us an email. I'm Becca at reachingspectrumheights.com.
And you are currently taking clients?
I am taking clients.
Yes. So what do you hope that listeners take away from our conversation today?
Yeah, I think that, just learning something. We've had a great conversation. Your questions have been spot on.
Well, thank you.
And I really appreciate the time and energy you took to focus on this topic.
Thank you so much.
So education, I hope, is the first thing. You learned a little something. But the desire to know more, the desire to say, oh, actually my neighbor has autism, and I've been meaning to talk to them about a resource that I learned about. So just sharing the podcast, I think, would be really helpful.
And also, I think just knowing that your business exists and that not even just your business, that the world that is there to cater to people on the spectrum exists. Because, I had a neighbor, he has passed away since, but actually just this past before Christmas. And he was autistic. We didn't know much about him because he was nonverbal. And he could, do a little bit of sign language, a little bit of just basic, like that you could read what he meant,
Sure.
But he was the most interesting person I think that I've probably ever known. Loved holidays.
Oh, yeah.
And when I say like loved holidays, I mean for Halloween, he had this big like inflatable castle that he put out, and he dressed up as a pirate, and he would get out there on his inflatable and just like wave to people, and he would get out on his bicycle, and he would have his bike decorated for like whatever holiday it was, say like July 4th, whatever.
Sure.
And he'd be out riding it, doing wheelies and stuff like that. And he just wanted to make people smile and laugh, but he was so uncomfortable with talking to people because I don't think that his mother was much, much older, and she adopted him and his sister. I don't know the whole story, but I don't think he got the help that he ever needed. So I think that led to the nonverbal, because a lot of people in our neighborhood grew up with him, that still live in like their parents' homes, and they remember him being verbal and stuff like that. So I think it's a beautiful thing that you guys exist and you are out here, because it's going to make or break a life for a person. Because I always, as much joy as he found in the holidays and things like that, and doing willies for us and all that, I always just felt like there was a sadness in his eyes that he wanted more, but he wasn't sure how to take it,
I'm so glad you shared that story, because we all know that person you grew up with that maybe was a little different. And let's act like you're, we're talking 1970s, 1960s, 1950s. and you don't know what you don't know. It wasn't even a thing.
Right.
So again, it's aligning the timeline
Mm-hmm.
of the diagnosis. And so a lot of 70, 80-somethings are out there
Mm-hmm.
undiagnosed.
Yes.
Right? And similar challenges, lack of resources through the years.
Mm-hmm.
And I've actually talked about this with several parents because, we do know that there's a genetic component to
Mm-hmm.
autism. And so when they'll talk about their parents or their parents' parents, and it's like, oh, that's just how they were. But you're seeing those commonalities,
Mm-hmm.
right? Or even seeking out support for yourself at an older age. And so I'm encouraged by your story. It is disheartening.
It is.
Because if we could have captured him,
Yes.
15 years ago, even,
Right.
maybe we could have had some progress where he was verbal again.
Yes.
You mentioned that he was verbal and then regressed.
Yes.
Interesting.
Yeah, all of the people in our neighborhood, like our neighbors. So our neighborhood is everyone but us on the corners of our streets. We're like on a 4-way. They all live in their parents' homes. We're the
interesting.
only ones that do not. We moved into the neighborhood.
Oh.
So they all remembered him growing up
Sure.
and playing with him as a kid and stuff
Yeah.
like that. So everything that I've learned about him, I learned from the neighbors because he loved getting out and doing wheelies, and he wouldn't do it for everybody.
Yeah.
He would, if certain people would come outside, he would hide behind a tree and it was silly things that, you knew he's got to know that someone doesn't see him, that that we know he's there, but he would literally get behind a bush or things like that. But he was very I don't want to say childlike, but the silliness was childlike, and it never was removed from him. He was always that guy. He was never angry or anything, but when he would try to communicate, and it happened maybe 5 times the entire 20 years that we've lived beside him. He kind of mumble or groan and kind of let you know one way or the other of what he's talking about, But he was wonderful, and I just think of what his life would have been like had he gotten that help,
Absolutely. And I think a big misnomer about people that are nonverbal is that they can't communicate. That's a full-on lie.
Oh, absolutely.
And it's funny. I'm so embarrassed to admit that I was sitting at a conference and they were talking about literacy and reading. It's like, just because you can't speak doesn't mean you can't read.
Right.
Or type.
Right.
So assistive technology has helped us a lot. But I am very intrigued by people that don't communicate verbally, actually, and seeing what did that grunt mean.
Yes.
And when you can understand the predictability of the grunt, you can know what it means, right?
Yes.
So anyway, we'll go into ABA therapy here. But.
Love it, yes. All right. What advice do you have for a parent of a 20-something autistic adult who's struggling to find their path to graduation?
Sure. College graduation?
Mm-hmm.
I think planning that next step. I've actually met students that intentionally didn't perform as well their last semester of college because they were so scared of graduation.
Afraid of what it was going to be like.
Literally flunked out of class purposefully.
Yeah.
So they have some more time.
Yeah, I get that.
And what that tells me is that it's, again, that fear of transition. So the planning piece is critical early on. Everybody hears the earlier the better.
Right.
But if you don't do that, that's okay. It doesn't mean that you're not going to have a gap year or two, but making sure that there's a plan for that gap.
Yeah.
And that there's an end date to that gap.
Yeah. I think that's very important.
Providers that you're pulling in. So the people that have hired us, I actually get interviewed all the time because I'm trying to meet a need, so there's not much of a sales pitch aspect to it, but it's definitely an interview of what can you offer me that I've not tried already.
Right, absolutely. And are you a good fit for our family?
Right.
So I get that.
No, and that's okay.
That's okay, yeah.
Because, what's funny about our services is they're meant to be in seasons of transition. So if you don't need us anymore, we see that as a success.
Yeah.
So typically we're hired for a specific purpose, but oftentimes, out of the clients we serve, many have been with us for several years because life is happening at the same time.
So their need has changed.
Correct.
Okay.
Yes.
That's wonderful that you guys can do that.
Well, our first client, I'll mention, his name's Bradley Delahaye. I've known him for a long, long time. He was working to get his own apartment, and his father passed away at the same time. And so before we knew it, we were talking about grief.
Yeah.
Unexpectedly.
Right.
And so it became more of sessions about planning for editing his home and getting a lot of the items, taken care of with his brother. And so the services really take new shape as life goes on, especially, best case scenario, you're having that employment that's perfect for you, but then maybe it's that coworker that's really rubbing you the wrong way, or maybe it's I'm not understanding my boss's expectations or whatever.
Okay.
So
that was a great answer. This has been so enlightening for me.
Yeah.
Well, Rebecca, I want to thank you for what you're doing in our community, for one, and helping employers, families, and autistic adults find a clearer and more compassionate path forward. And I also want to thank you for being on today. Look, this has been wonderful. It's been so enlightening for me. Yeah, it's been so nice.
My first podcast ever.
Yeah, so yay for that. Now you can go on to do many. Yes.
We can definitely do a series. I know
Absolutely.
We're going to bring in our clients. That's
we really do. Oh, we really do.
I can definitely help you with that.
That would be really fun. That would be a great one. All right, guys, stay tuned because I think Rebecca's going to be back with us soon, hopefully. All right, guys, we are out of here.
Thanks for listening to the Tri-State Time Machine. If you have a memory you want Vanessa to talk more about, just send her an email at tstm@mail.com or post a comment on the Tri-State Time Machine Facebook page. Did you like the episode? Be sure to share it with friends and family. It's the only way we can continue this fun work that we do. You can find a link in the show notes that you can use to share it.